So hello everybody, I'm Jim Durrett, Mayor of Montgomery County, and this is another one of our series of putting the spotlight on employees, department heads, elected officials of Montgomery County, because they're the ones that really make Montgomery County work every day, and they're the part of the reason that Montgomery County is such a great place to live, work, and play. And so today, I'm interviewing Miss Sally Burchett, our Director of Parks and Recreation. Sally, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Mayor.
Well, I don't want you to be nervous.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's just start off. So, break the ice.
Okay.
Tell us about Sally.
I
know you're born and raised here.
I am a Clarksville native. Proud of it. My grandmother's lived in her house for over 50 years there on Lacey Lane behind Barksdale. So we have some deep roots here in Clarksville, and I'm just glad to be able to be a part of the Montgomery County government and giving back to the community that's given so much to me.
Awesome. So, what'd you do before you came to work for Montgomery County?
Directly before I was with the YMCA in their youth development program, the fun company that's in all of our elementary schools. So I oversaw half of of the 26 elementary school programs that they had at that time. So I was responsible for maintaining all of those sites and overseeing what they're doing every day.
Yeah, so went to Clarksville High?
Went to Clarksville Academy.
Clarksville
Go Cougars.
Academy. Go Cougars. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Where'd you go to college?
MTSU, so left Clarksville for about 5 years, went down to Murfreesboro and became a Blue Raider, so that was a fun time too.
You know, you say something, you left Clarksville, and I hear people say all the time that, so much of our top talent or, kids that go off to college don't ever come home, but it's pretty awesome that you came home.
Yeah. But it didn't hurt that I had so many people begging regularly for me to come home, so.
Well, good. So how long have you worked for county government?
I have been with Montgomery County for just under 6 years now.
Okay, well tell us from the beginning to where you are now.
So I've had quite a few roles with the Parks Department, all with the Parks Department. I started as the admin coordinator. I was the first person to initiate that role. Then stepped into another new role as the crew chief over our Park Services Division. Then initiated a third new role as the programming manager over the Wadeborne Nature Center. And I am finally now in my first role that was already established before me, which makes it a whole lot easier because I know what my expectations are as now the director of Parks
That's
and
so
Rec.
awesome. So awesome. Well, I think one thing that people don't realize is the county's Parks and Recreation Department is pretty young.
Yes,
I mean, if you compare us to the city of Clarksville, I worked for the city of Clarksville back in the late 70s, and they had a Parks and Rec department back then, and Montgomery County didn't have one. So we are a relatively new department.
Absolutely.
20, maybe 20,
Less
21
than
years,
that,
less than 20 years old. Yeah.
We didn't have a full-fledged department until when Director Albert stepped in 2010. So we're just at 12 years
Oh,
now.
wow.
Which
Okay.
we've got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah. So you've only been director for a short time.
5 months.
Yeah, so what do you think something significant that you've done since you've stepped into this new role?
Yeah, I think that my whole time, as I said, I've been in a lot of first roles, and as you said, we're still very young. So implementing new policy and trying to create a roadmap for the future of our department has been something that I've been really a big part of through my whole time here. And so as director, I kind of just kept pushing with that. And so I've taken a lot of time to make sure that we've got policy for our staff to feel confident when they are communicating with the public, and that they know where their expectations lie around doing a great job and serving our community well.
Right. Well, I think we're so blessed. I mean, if you look at Civitan Park and you look at, I always say it, Rich Ellen, it's just, those are immaculate parks. The sports fields are nice, but the playground equipment's nice. They have walking paths. Civitan, we have the newly added buddy ball field, which is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And then we have the multi-purpose field, which I know is getting used all the time. But one of the things that I think that I've seen in you that we Montgomery County have not done a lot of, but I think you want to take us more so is into programming and doing stuff for kids and
Absolutely.
at-risk kids. So talk about some of those things. I know you're doing some now at the
Yes.
Nature Center that are very, very successful.
They are, yes, we're very excited. So, opening a, interactive nature center or any kind of interactive space in the middle of a global pandemic is not something I recommend to anybody. Please don't attempt it. But I think we've come out of that stronger, by having to be creative in the beginning, and now as we are getting to what I would consider more normal, we're really being able to flourish in those programs, starting with the Nature Center, finding that area that we have found some gaps that we aren't trying to duplicate services that other organizations are able to provide, but finding where we can also complement those services and add different elements of programming and special events.
Yeah.
You know, we're excited about the special events that are going to be hosted at Downtown Commons again this year. There's a full calendar of events going on there, and just taking those even beyond that park and making sure that we're providing it in all areas of Montgomery County.
And I think that's one thing that we have done that's been good is we've moved the Commons under Parks and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's good because y'all have the resources to put behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And Elizabeth does a great job, and she was doing a great job, but having the resources that Parks and Rec has to put behind it, I think really, really complements that park. And, you know, I was talking about all of our good parks. I was talking about Civitan and the others, but, you know, Rotary Park is just a gem in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it is truly, truly a gem in itself. And adding the Nature Center there just adds so much to it. So what drove you to get, you went to work for the Y.
Mm-hmm.
So what started you down that path of being involved in, for lack of a better word, recreational opportunities for people?
Yeah, so that started right at the beginning of college. I began working at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Rutherford County when I was 19 years old, and I just fell in love with impacting today's youth. Being able to help mold the next generation and have a part in creating who our next leaders are has always just been a big driving force for me. So I was with the Boys and Girls Clubs for 4 years before I moved back here, then went into the YMCA, and then when this opportunity presented itself with Parks and Recreation and being able to do it from a local government side just really interested me. I never really thought that government was where I wanted to land,
Right.
but it has been the perfect fit. Being able to impact those same lives in a less structured format, and sometimes you're like, well, how does having a park really change a kid's life? Well, because it gives them a safe place to be able to have that fun and be able to explore and learn about themselves and about their community.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what does a typical day look like for the Director of Parks and Rec?
Well, if I'm being perfectly honest, Mayor, a typical day is a lot of meetings. I wish it was spending time in a park, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
But they're important meetings. You know, we spend a lot of time making sure that everything we're doing is serving our staff well, but also serving our community well. So I regularly will meet with interested community members who have, you know, something that they want to share about how they feel like parks can better serve different facets of our community. I also regularly are addressing our existing policies, addressing issues that are arising in our parks, seeing how we can make it better for all of the people involved.
Right.
Equity is really important in our park system, making sure that we are being fair and across the board with everything that we implement, and that we aren't giving one person any kind of preferential treatment or serving their organization in a way that we're not willing to do for everyone.
Right. And you know, I think somebody that doesn't live it day to day, and especially this time of year, you know, with our parks that we have, especially our parks that have our athletic fields, we deal with two different little leagues, and we need to be consistent in the way we deal with them. And I know some of the leagues have been upset about it, and I totally understand that because they have this true passion for it. But we have all these travel teams, and so juggling all of that, I understand the need for consistencies and policies, and in your messaging as well.
Yeah.
So I
absolutely.
think y'all have done a good job with that. You
Thank
really
you.
have.
it's difficult when you're telling someone, like you said, how a Parks and Rec director handles these things, that I can't look at just the, couple hundred kids that you have and the 1,000 kids you have. I have to look at, we have 200,000 people in Montgomery County, and I have to do what's best for all of them.
Right.
And sometimes that doesn't mean it's the best for your specific organization. I have to look at the bigger picture.
Right.
And that doesn't always make everybody happy, but we try to do our best to, take in those complaints or suggestions and see what we can do to tweak things and make it work for everybody as best we can.
Yeah, and I think y'all do a great job of being very transparent about that and also being consistent. I mean, because, if everybody knows what the playing field is, they can play.
Yep.
But if you're constantly changing the rules and you're changing the rules for one organization versus another, as well as I do, that word will get out and they're like, well, why are you letting so-and-so do this? And I can't do that.
Right.
So you talked about government. Would you recommend somebody coming to work for county government in any role?
Sure. I think there's definite benefits specifically to working for Montgomery County. Working for you, Mayor, has been a highlight.
I paid her to say that. No, I didn't.
It helps when you have really supportive leadership. It definitely is from the top down. If you feel like you have the backing of your mayor, if you feel like you have the support of those really important departments, communications, HR, IT, and that they're going to do what they can to help you be able to really just focus on parks, that makes all the difference, because then our guys can spend all their time worried about the fields and making the fields playable and making the bathrooms perfectly clean and worrying with the everyday parks pieces, because we know that we have the backing and the support of the rest of the government. So I would suggest anybody who has an interest in a specific field, it's a great place to work.
Yeah, and I think something that I really admire about you and your staff is as you transitioned into this role, you transitioned in before winter weather got here, and I don't think a lot of people realize that county government operates as lean as we do, but because of your willingness and your spirit of cooperation, Parks and Rec's now part of the overall snow removal for Montgomery County. Not necessarily, but the highway department does a great job on the roads, but for all of our facilities and everything. And so there's this great sense of collaboration and cooperation between different departments, facilities, and y'all. And I just think it's fantastic that y'all do that, and you accept it with it's going to make a difference, but you want to do it right too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So I really couldn't wait to ask these next couple of questions to you. So you're interviewing somebody to come to work for Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Why do they want to come to work for Clarksville Montgomery County Parks and Rec?
Well, I would say that if somebody is coming to an interview at the Parks Department, then they've already got an interest, I would hope, in being outdoors or impacting the community in a parks realm. The reason I would say that they should come work in our department is that we really do try and make sure that it's an enjoyable experience for our employees, and that their needs and their particular strategies in making the parks better are taken into consideration every time. We want them to have ownership over their properties, and we see that a lot in our staff, that they feel a lot of pride in wearing the logo every day just as much as I do. And that's something that I'm really proud of, that we have a team that is bought in to our future and to our development. And as you said, transparency is something that I'm very big on, especially with my employees, making sure that they feel like they know where we're trying to go, because if they see the big picture, then they're more likely to pitch in and try and get there.
Exactly. And I know the way y'all program your folks, that you've got people that are signed to Civitan Park, and so they truly take pride. And if there's a blade of grass out of whack, or if there's a fence that needs some fixing or something, it's theirs. They have ownership, and I think y'all have empowered them to have that, and I just think that's so fantastic. So I'm going to twist that question. So you leave here and you're walking to your vehicle and you see this couple that you can kind of tell maybe they're looking for something, and they just kindly ask you, say, hey ma'am, could you tell us where such and such is? And so the conversation continues, and before you know it, they're actually thinking about moving here. Why should they move to Montgomery County? What's Sally Burchett gonna tell them?
Well, selfishly, I'm gonna say the Montgomery County parks are just bar none, and you won't find a better park anywhere in this country than the ones that we take care of every day. And that's just because I know what our staff are putting into them every day. But in addition to that, I think that just our community in general, just the willingness to accept others is very unique and welcoming because of our military influence and the amount of transiency that we already have. I think that it's a great place for people to come and immediately be able to find community themselves. And that's an important part of feeling connected to where you live, is finding those people who are like-minded or have the same interests as you.
Yeah, and so you can find those people at Rotary Park or
absolutely
at Civitan Park or
any
wherever.
day. Yeah, any park.
So what do you see as some short-term challenges for you in your department?
Yeah, I think right now really a short-term challenge that we're facing is staffing. And I know that that's not a new answer or a unique answer. We have some of the lower paid positions within Montgomery County, and that's just the reality of the type of work that we do. And so finding staff to fill those positions and keep them filled is a challenge every day. And that is why I take so seriously trying to make the other parts of the job as enjoyable and find the ways to engage them as much as I can.
Yeah. What about long-term challenges?
I think the long-term challenge is making sure that our parks department is growing appropriately with the community, that we're putting new parks in the right places, and that the amenities that we put in those parks are what the people in that area are looking for. Thankfully, the commission passed our master plan last year, and that was a 10-year kind of roadmap of what that growth should look like for us. And I hope that future commissions will pass, continuations of that plan so that we can really be in tune and on target with how we grow and where we go as a department.
Right. And so I really hadn't asked a lot of people this question, but I think it's appropriate to ask, to go down this road with you for a minute. So, when you talk about long-term challenges, obviously funding is a big part of it, and I know that. And you probably, out of respect to me, you don't say, well, hey, Mayor, if you give me $10 million, I'll make this happen. I totally
but
understand.
But if you will, I'll do it.
I know you will. I know you will. But I know you're working when you talked about the master plan, it talked about a lot of deficiencies that we have, tennis courts being one. Y'all have got a great project that you're working on now, trying to get a big grant, working with the United States Tennis Association.
Yes, sir.
And so, there's opportunities out there for us where it's just not property tax dollars coming to you, and y'all are constantly seeking that.
Absolutely. In the almost 6 years that I've been with the department, I have been able to secure over $2 million in grant funding for projects within our Parks Department. The Nature Center had a portion of grant funding. Both of the playgrounds at Rotary Park had grant funding on them. The new playground at Woodlawn Park was fully funded by grants. So we do our best to try and remove that burden as much as we can in the projects that we can. Right. And seeking out tennis, finding those ways are definitely beneficial to us, but the best benefit was having that plan to be able to show when we go for those grant opportunities, we say, look, we have the proven data that this is what we need, and this is where we see that you can help us the most. So that helps a lot. This may be an easy question, it may be a tough question. What's your favorite park? Oh, now, Mayor, it's just like having a favorite child. You're not allowed to. It's what I've always been told. I think selfishly, I'm going to have to say Rotary. I have had such a firsthand experience there, being a part of the Nature Center. I wrote the grant for that building. I went to school with Wade's children, and Becky is one of my most favorite mentors in all of Clarksville. She is awesome. And so being a part of that project specifically has been life-changing for me, because I do think that is one of the things that prepared me the most for becoming director. But also writing the grant for both of the playgrounds in that property, and just knowing the potential of that 111 acres and what it means to so many people in this community. it really just tugs on my heartstrings.
Well, and if you asked me that question, I would probably say the same thing, but a lot of it probably has to do with my age. But it's not that our other parks aren't all inclusive of all different ages, but the focus at Civitan is, I mean, it's sports.
Sure.
It's athletic fields. But there's great playgrounds. There's a great walking trail out there. The same thing out at Rich Ellen. I mean, it's got a great walking path. Both of them have facilities that people can use that you're not necessarily related to softball or baseball.
Sure.
So I think our parks are diverse, but I think my answer would be Rotary, because it's kid friendly, it's adult friendly, it's all of that. But we got some other great places like the Fredonia that we hope to add to that and add some more amenities out there, South Guthrie and all that. So awesome.
Yeah, we something that's really important to me is that no two playgrounds in a Montgomery County park are the same, but also no two parks are the same. It's great to be able to give a lot of diversity in what we're able to offer the community. Yes, maybe it may not be the park closest to you, but at least there is the opportunity to go to different types of parks. So I don't think that ever you will see a cookie cutter like, oh, this is definitely a Montgomery County park because it looks identical to the last one I went into. That's a goal of mine, to just make sure that every experience is unique and just gives people the opportunity to try new things and try different types of passive recreation or organized recreation.
Yeah, and when you talk about unique, Weekly
Absolutely
Park is certainly unique. And I mean, that's an old golf course that we're really turning into it's going to be a true treasure in my opinion. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, who would have known that buying it at the time that we did, going right before the pandemic started, what an impact that would make in just being able to allow people to get out there and get some fresh air at a time when they were feeling like they couldn't leave their houses. And that there was so much uncertainty, but Weekly was able to offer people an avenue that we just never expected. So that was awesome.
Yeah. And I know we support all the high schools and the cross country and all that. So it's not only a park for the community out there, but it's also supporting our kids in high school as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you had to say what is one of the most gratifying things that has occurred in the last 5 months?
Yeah.
Well, what would that be?
I'd actually say it was just this past Saturday. So this past Saturday, I was asked to throw the opening pitch at St. B. Little League's opening ceremonies.
You didn't bounce it, did you?
Oh, Mayor, it was worse than that. There is a video of that too, but I hope they will not attach it to this because it's bad.
We'll make sure we'll attach the video to this.
It was really bad, but the reason that I would say that was the most gratifying event is that we are home to the largest Little League in the state of Tennessee this year.
Wow.
They have 1,000 participants playing for St. B. Little League this spring. The largest in the organization's history in their 75 years. And the largest in our state. And so I think that is a true testament to them and to what they've been able to do, but I also think it's a testament to our hardworking staff who are in that park every single day, making it exceptional. It even goes back to the commission funding phase 2. We wouldn't be able to be that large if we didn't have the additional fields on the phase 2 section. And the Little League also has their Challenger League, which is the spring counterpart of Buddy Ball. So they have 30 participants who will be utilizing the Rotary Field of Dreams this spring, leading into Buddy Ball this fall.
That's
so
awesome.
It really is incredible, and we're just so honored to be able to be a part of it this year.
So if we just gave you the magic wand and waved it, what would you do?
I think the first thing I would do is there are some of our older parks who need a facelift, and I would make sure that we are raising the bar on those properties and making sure that we are maintaining all of our properties that have reached their life cycle replacement stage. And then next, I think I would just make sure that we're reaching all those deficiency areas that were identified through our master plan. There are like 4 or 5 parts of the county that have been identified as extremely deficient in Parks and Rec resources. And so I think those would be my target areas of just really diving in. And I hope that will be reflected in my budget request this year.
Yeah. So one park I didn't mention, I don't know if I mentioned all of them, but I did mention Woodlawn, but
Mhm.
you talked about the grant for, that was a Blue Cross Blue Shield grant
Yeah.
that built that entire playground. I mean, it is fantastic.
$750,000.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, we were lucky if we had a merry-go-round and a monkey bar. I
Yeah.
mean, that thing's got everything.
It
in
does.
It is really cool.
It is. That was an incredible partnership with the Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation, and being able to be the home of a Blue Cross Healthy Place is just incredible. But what that opened us up to is that having such a gorgeous playground really shows where some of the other parts of that park could use a reinvestment as well.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the properties that I would say we're really looking to give it just a facelift. Not that there's anything wrong with it and that we're not taking care of it every day. We're not being negligent. It's just there's a lifespan to fencing. There's a lifespan to all those things. And also Woodlawn's ready for an expansion. The Little League out there is growing, and they need more fields. They need more space. So that's always a great problem to have.
Awesome. Well, I think everybody can see the energy that Sally brings to Parks and Rec, and we're just so excited about her. I think she's a shining star in Montgomery County, and that's part of really what I want to do with what we're doing here is just to shine the light on people that are making things happen in our community. So Sally, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that everything I do is only made possible by the staff that work in our parks, because they are the ones that are really doing the hard work every single day.
Awesome. Thank you.